Last night, Chief Demkew held a press conference at the Beanfield Center. I RSVP'd that we would indeed be attending, but I was sternly told by spokeswoman Stephanie Sayer that Rebel News is deemed to be media non grata. Quote, "We only allow journalists who work for accredited news organizations into our media gallery or at our events. Accredited news organizations publish their journalistic standards and practices, adhere to journalistic principles such as fairness and balanced reporting, and have a correction policy. For example, members of the National News Media Council, which reviews and potentially adjudicates complaints from the public about alleged violations of ethical and journalistic standards, are considered to be accredited by us, the Toronto Police Service." End quote. Good grief, where do I begin? For starters, we do adhere to all of those journalistic standards and procedures noted by Sayer. Secondly, we are accredited by the Independent Press Gallery, the Federal Court, the Federal Appeal Court, provincial courts, and the list goes on. But no, Sayer only wants MSM-trained SEALs to attend Demkew pressers. Why? Well, because they won't ask the impolite questions like I planned to do last night, such as the following. For the past 13 months, Chief Demkew, we have witnessed pro-Hamas supporters clamoring for genocide, contrary to Section 319 of the Criminal Code. In the meantime, peaceful counter-demonstrators have been arrested, as well as members of the independent media. Why is there such a flagrant double standard when it comes to law enforcement? Number two, politically, who is ordering the police to act this way? Mayor Chow, Premier Ford, Prime Minister Trudeau. Three, earlier this year, Trudeau had a meeting with Chief Demkew. Why? What was said in that meeting? After all, the chief does not answer to the PM. Or are things a little different now? Four, Rebel News went through the Freedom of Information process to find out what was said in that meeting. Our FOI application was declined. Why? What was said in that meeting that the PM and the chief want to keep secret? Well, sorry, folks, those questions shall remain unanswered. Maybe those questions will remain unanswered forever. So that's the problem. It is a situation of two-tiered law enforcement as Jew hatred runs out of control. Now, here are my suggested solutions. Number one, it starts on this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. We're planning to take back the streets. I will quote Ezra's email that went out to our viewers yesterday. Quote, "Toronto police arrested me last Sunday for standing on the sidewalk. I was reporting on a pro-Hamas protest, and police claimed that my mere presence was breaching the peace. And I'm certain they're going to arrest me again this Sunday because I intend to go to the exact same sidewalk. The pro-Hamas bullies invade the... Okay. And I'm certain they're going to arrest me again this Sunday because I intend to go to the exact same sidewalk. The pro-Hamas bullies invade the same Jewish neighborhood every week. But that's only if I'm by myself. Arresting me was a lot easier for the police than arresting the 20 pro-Hamas extremists who were shouting at me. But if I'm there with 50 law-abiding Canadian citizens, all of us standing peacefully on the sidewalk, waving Canadian flags, the police might actually do their job. Will you come to join me in solidarity as a fellow Canadian citizen? Will you help me take back our streets from these pro-Hamas thugs? By the way, it's against the law for police to arrest someone who isn't breaking the law just because other people threaten to breach the peace. In 2019, in a remarkably similar case called Fleming versus Ontario, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that police cannot do that, end quote. By the way, folks, Ezra is referring to the situation that occurred in Caledonia, Ontario, going back some 15 years ago. Caledonia was essentially being held hostage by native activists to the point that this patch of the province was actually a no-go zone. I urge you to read the book Helpless by the late, great Christy Blatchford for all the nitty-gritty details of one of the most disgraceful chapters to occur in the history of Ontario. In any event, Fleming was violently arrested by police officers. Why? Well, he was brandishing a Canadian flag on a vacant lot. The cops thought this would further incite the natives. Experiencing a bit of deja vu here, folks? Because in 2024, it's merely the players who have changed, yet clownish cops are actually ignoring a Supreme Court decision. So it is my hope that on Sunday, we stand with Ezra. What we need is an I'm Spartacus moment. Remember that iconic scene from the 1960 Kirk Douglas movie? Spartacus had led a slave rebellion, but when the runaway slaves were eventually found by the Roman centurions, they were informed that all the emperor wanted was the return of Spartacus to Rome in order to be publicly crucified. Check out what happens.
Slaves you were, and slaves you remain. But the terrible penalty of crucifixion has been set aside on the single condition that you identify the body or the living person of the slave called Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm
End result, the centurions were bamboozled. Will you join us on Sunday to send a similar message to TPS? Part 2 in reclaiming our city and indeed our country is regime change. Trudeau must go, Chow must go, Parrish must go. We can ill afford to have anti-Semites in charge during these dark days of Jew hatred. Finally, part 3 is simply this: deport, deport, deport. If you believe the polls, and I sure do, it looks as though the Pierre Poilievre Conservatives will form a majority government next year. A plank of the Poilievre platform is fighting crime. And so it is that he needs to take a page from Donald Trump's playbook and deport illegal aliens, especially those illegal aliens who are not only committing crimes, but chanting for genocide on the streets of our great dominion on a weekly basis. We need to draw a line, and appeasing thugs and bullies has never worked. It is time that our great country is ruled over by Canadian law, not Sharia law. It is time to restore law and order and civility, because this is ultimately a battle between civilization and savagery. Finally, this is not the time to issue visas to Gazans, but rather this is the time to deport Islamo-Nazi hate-mongers to whatever shite-holes they emigrated from before Canada itself descends into just such a decrepit place as well. Well, folks, just moments after recording this monologue, I received notice of an X or tweet from the Toronto Police Service entitled "A Reminder to Those Attending Sunday's Demonstration at Bathurst and Sheppard." Allow me to read it verbatim. Officers have been managing weekly demonstrations at Bathurst and Sheppard with public safety as our top priority. While we uphold the charter rights of all citizens, those rights are not without limits, and must be balanced with the safety of everyone in the area. Our officers are trained to de-escalate volatile situations. If actions threaten public safety or risk dangerous confrontations, they will take steps to restore order. This applies to all sides. Breach of the peace arrests are a tool to maintain order and carry no criminal charges. We remain committed to investigating all hate-motivated incidents. Our investigations do not stop when demonstrations end. Charges can and will be laid at any time. Since October 7th, 2023, we've made 186 arrests and laid 506 charges related to hate crimes. Please follow police direction to ensure this weekend's event remains safe and lawful for everyone. So there you have it, folks. The police recognize there are charter rights, but the police are going to put a governor on those charter rights. They're going to limit our charter rights. I'm sorry, your role as law enforcement officers is to uphold the law, not to interpret the law, make rulings of law. Like I said earlier, this is not a Judge Dredd comic book. You are ignoring what the Supreme Court stated in 2019. And if you're going to carry out that kind of a vendetta on Sunday, see you in court.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. Members get instant access to all of our shows, invitations to exclusive events, and access to our premium content like live event footage and documentaries you won't see anywhere else. Only Rebel News Plus members can join the conversation by participating in the comments section of our new website. That way you can have your say too. More than anything, though, you'll be able to take pride in supporting real, honest journalism, and you'll help our talented team continue to do the work to push back on the establishment. We really can use your help. We need it, in fact. So thank you, and enjoy Rebel News Plus.